On Thanksgiving, my sister stood, tapped her glass, and beamed. "Mom and Dad are signing the house to me," Kara said. "Lila gets nothing." Cheers rose. I didn't clap. I smiled the way you do when a storm rolls in and the roof isn't yours. I put down my fork. "Dad," I said, "should I tell them, or will you?" The room emptied of sound. "Before I explain the silence, tell me where you're listening from. It steadies me to know you're there tonight. I'm Lila Hart." On cards we looked close, matching sweaters, practiced smiles. But families like mine split in small permissions. Who is believed, who fades? I lived in the background. Kara didn't. She was adored, bright, loud. I built alone. When I moved to Chicago, my parents called it selfish. Kara stayed and fit the space they'd saved. Only my grandmother June saw me. "Stronger than they think," she'd whisper. 6 months earlier, Mom summoned me for something important. Dad set a folder on the dining table. "Just a refinance," he said. Pages blurred, balances hid. I took copies to a lawyer in Chicago. It wasn't a refinance. It would strap their second mortgage to me, already leaking toward foreclosure. 2 months later, Dad asked for help. "Hospital bills," he said. When I offered to pay the clinic directly, his story collapsed. It was the house again. So I built my own folder, statements, notices, summary pages, and drove home. The air felt rehearsed. Mom's tight smile, Dad's skittering eyes, Kara brushing imaginary lint. An empty chair beside mine, gone, not moved. Kara tapped glass, applause. I set my hand on the folder. "Dad," I said, "should I tell them, or will you?" No one moved. I set the folder on the linen and let it sit. "Before you toast," I said, "see what you're cheering." I opened to the summary. Past due, second lien, penalties. A foreclosure date circled by the bank. Dad tried breezy. "Paperwork, we've got it handled." "Then why ask me in June to sign the liability?" I tapped the second mortgage line. "Why call in August for money and hang up when I offered to pay the clinic directly?" Kara's smile fell. "What debt?" She looked to our parents, waiting for them to make me small again. "This," I said, sliding notices toward her. "It rides with the deed you announced." Aunt Mara leaned in. "Rick," she said, "is it true?" He watched his plate. Mom dabbed at nothing. The radiator kept time. Evan, Kara's fiancé, cleared his throat. "You told me it was paid off," he said. "We were supposed to start clean." "It's being resolved," Dad said. I raised the final notice. "Not according to this." Evan's chair scraped. Kara caught his sleeve. He eased free. "I can't build on a sinkhole," he said. He set his napkin down and walked out through the kitchen. Kara folded, sequins dimming. For a breath, she was 12 again, crawling into my bed after nightmares. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I believe you," I said. June rose, palm on the table. "Children aren't lifeboats," she told my parents. "You were taught better." A hard knock shook the door, then another. Dad half stood, sat. I went. A woman in a plain blazer held up a badge. "Mr. and Mrs. Hart, I need to speak with you about your mortgage records." She glanced at the stunned table. "May I come in?" I stepped aside. The investigator, Marla Ortiz, set a thin folder beside mine and asked, "When the second loan was taken, why signatures didn't match, where the payments went?" Each dodge tightened the air. Kara stared at the figures like constellations she'd misread. June stood at my shoulder, steady. When Marla finished, she gathered copies and a card. "You'll hear from us," she said, and left into the brittle afternoon. No one reached for the turkey. Dad muttered I'd humiliated him. Mom gripped my wrist. I eased free. "You did this," I said, "and you won't hand it to us." Kara's mascara streaked. "What happens now?" "Now we tell the truth. We sell the house before it sells you." June nodded. "I'll call the realtor," she told my mother, "and the bank." We ate in small, honest bites. When I stood to leave, Kara followed me into the hall, where the missing chair leaned against the wall. "I moved it," she said. "I wanted your corner to feel smaller." I dragged the chair back and set it by her side. Keep it open, I said, for when you need somewhere else to sit. Weeks later, a sale sign sprouted. My parents rented a modest place and showed up to meetings on time. Kara started therapy. Some nights, she calls just to breathe. June mails me notes in block letters. Proud of you. I framed one. I moved back into my own skin, lighter, steadier than before. Truth didn't break us. It traced the cracks. Now we know where to mend and where to stop.